following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. My name is Leo Connors and I'm your host. And tonight, I got a very special guest, someone I just met tonight, Bobby Rossi.
Mr. Connors.
Nice.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm very happy that you hit me up and wanted to come on the show, honestly. You know what I mean?
Well, honestly, I've always watched the show
Yep.
over the past couple of years. It's actually how I got to know who Scott Dupree is and why he's commenting on all my friends' stuff.
Yeah, Mav.
Mav Wild.
Yeah.
I always heard the name. I never associated the two together. So I decided after seeing you this year's Fenway show, I got to make it a point to come up here, and here I am.
Nice, and I'm so happy that you did. Like I told you, we're not really familiar. We just met,
Yeah.
and I love when they're having a guest or I get to know his whole story. Real quick about Mav, though, he's the only guy, well, I should say Sonny, too, but Mav has an open invitation. Any show he wants to come on, he's more than welcome, as long as the guest agrees, too. You know what I mean? Mav is just one of the best guys.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, he's like even though I'm older than him, he's like a big brother sticking up for me and stuff with that crap that's going on with the real deal.
Yeah.
You know? We can talk about that off here after. But, Bobby, let's get right into it.
Sure.
I mean, I know that you've done a lot in wrestling. You know, you've ring announced. You're a ring announcer. You're a commentator. You've refereed, you know? And we're going to get into everything right now.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, in a neighborhood called Silver Lake.
Okay.
It was predominantly Italian
Yep.
up until the 90s, and then it became a different area. But that's basically where I spent my childhood, my teenage years, and my early 20s.
Okay, great. When did you first see pro wrestling?
I was probably at my Uncle Peter's house, and this is the first memory I have for wrestling. He had one of those really big, obnoxious, big screen TVs that took up most of the room and had like the speaker underneath or what have you. And I remember like peering through the adults because we're getting ready to leave, but I heard this crowd going nuts. And it wasn't a ball game, it wasn't a concert. And sure enough, I get through the adults and I see Hulk Hogan for the first time.
Wow.
I don't know what the show was. I don't know what it's pay-per-view, Saturday night, whatever. But from that moment, I was hooked. I had to know more. I had to know more about what this pro wrestling stuff was, who this Hogan guy was. I was at the right time. You know, the red, white, and blue take you vitamins. I was like in grade school at that time, so they got me.
So was that around the late 80s or early 90s?
Late 80s.
Late 80s. All right, great. Were your friends and family into it too? Was Uncle Pete into it?
My Uncle Peter was into it.
Nice.
My uncles were. My grandmother didn't like it, but she used to laugh at the midget matches.
Yeah.
My mother.
Me too. Those are great matches.
Yeah, they were. I thought they were.
Right. So your mom hates it. My mom hates it too.
She hated it because she didn't like what they did in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
She was more a fan of like the real poppy cartoon stuff where the hero always kind of prevails at the end. So when it got a little gritty and it got a little dark in the 90s, she was just really turned off by it.
Right.
So she was always a skeptical whenever she heard the word wrestling. She's like, eh.
Wow. But I just found out like 5 years ago, my dad told me that my grandfather used to take me to wrestling when I was like an infant. I'm like, you're telling me this now? I've loved wrestling since 1972. What took you so long? But I thought that was cool because I found wrestling on my own. You know what I mean? Flicking the channels and stuff. No one in my house liked it. My brother started liking it, my older brother, when Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle came around because they were like real.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
they had that
again,
legitimacy to them.
Right. I'm not saying anybody's like not real, fake, but they just, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Both of them, big, tough guys, man. All right. When did you go to your first show?
All right, so the first show I attended was probably within that second, third grade area, early 90s. I remember there was this place called the Warwick Musical Theater, and it was referenced as the Tent.
Okay.
It was a big, large, outdoor style tent. And the WWF used to have house shows there at the time. I don't think they ran any major like televised events.
Right.
But that was one of the first times I ever went to a wrestling show live. And sure enough, who brought me? Uncle Peter and my cousin Mark. So
nice. That's awesome. What about indie show? What did you know about indies? When did you go to your first indie show? Did you work that show, or did you see it before that?
So I guess the first indie show I ever went to, I worked.
Oh, okay.
I actually stopped watching wrestling for a very long period of time in my life. Around the late 90s, I fell out of love with wrestling, and I fell deeply in love with music.
Right.
We chatted a little bit, and that was around that same age that I got into playing and writing music. I had bought a bass guitar, so that kind of took over my heart and soul for a bit. I got reintroduced to wrestling in 2011 when a friend of mine said, "Hey, you should ring announce for this company RWA."
Right.
And I thought, all right, sure. Who's RWA? And that's kind of how it started. I had no idea about the independents.
Right.
And when I showed up, they were in this dingy building in North Providence, and everyone was running around with the few resources they had to make the best possible show.
Right.
And I'm watching it all unfold, and I'm thinking, why are they doing this? Like, is this going somewhere? Then I found out they had a public access show, and I found out that they were also doing it at the time. They were raising funds for charity.
Oh, wow.
So their live events, they would go out to a venue, and we would run, and the money would be raised for a cause, and it would be donated.
Oh, that's awesome. So
when I found that out, I fell in love. I said, wait a minute, I could learn the inner workings of this wrestling stuff and raise funds for like a decent cause. I'm in.
Nice.
And I haven't looked back since.
So that first show, is that what you did? You ring announced that night?
It was like a studio style taping, and I ring announced, and I botched my way through it left and right, but I wanted to come back, and I was given the chance to.
Now, who owns IWA?
So he wrestled under the name Big Daddy T at XWA, where more people might be familiar with him. But he's a guy known by T Phoenix.
Oh, okay. Is that AJ's father?
That's AJ's father.
All right. Cool.
So that's
I think he's in the name game.
Okay. Well,
both of them are.
T Phoenix is the reason why I'm around.
Nice.
XWA by far and large, however you say the saying, they're definitely the reason why more people have got to know who I am over the years. But that wouldn't have happened had it not been for T Phoenix.
Right. He's given a lot of people, I've heard, chances and stuff, T Phoenix.
A ton of people.
Nice. I'd like to talk to him someday. Maybe I can get him to come on here. When did you know you wanted to be in the business? So it was after 2011, or did you really think about it when you were little?
When I was little, I was obsessed.
Yeah.
And I was convinced I was going to be a wrestler.
Right.
At one point, I was running my own backyard shows in my backyard type of deal. So I guess there was always this sense of being involved in one way, shape, or form.
Right.
And as I got older, I fell less in love with the actual craft of wrestling, and I started to see the entertainment value of it all.
Okay.
And like the production and what goes into it, and what some of the inner workings behind the curtain. And what really put me onto that was my time in live music.
Right.
You got to go out, you got to get a venue.
Yes.
You're rehearsing a set.
Yep.
You're working with maybe other acts to fill this venue. Now you're selling tickets. And there are a lot of parallels between that and running a wrestling show.
Right.
Different style, different fashion, but a lot of the same ideals on the back end of it.
Right. I noticed a lot of wrestlers have taken up music also. You know what I mean? That I know. It's amazing how many, though. It's like, you'd think maybe a couple, but I know at least 30, 35 guys that are in like bands too. It's amazing. So your friend, I was going to ask this question, how did you get yourself booked? But you just said your friend helped you out.
It was a mutual friend that, like, even though I didn't watch wrestling on TV for all those years,
right?
Kind of like how you could talk baseball during the off season about what's going on, who's making what kind of moves.
Yes.
Those are the kind of convos I was having with friends of mine because they all still watched and they knew that I was still savvy to the, some of the inner workings. So when me and this friend of mine who's no longer involved in the scene,
Right.
we were having another one of those conversations, like, you know, where the company should be doing on TV and how we know better, yada, yada. And he's like, yo, man, he's like, you should ring announce for this company. And he really did it. I think it was to free himself up from the announcer role so he could, you know, try to do some other stuff.
Was that what he was doing? Was he the announcer at first?
He was, and
Okay.
he wanted to move on to other things. So there was an ulterior motive there.
Right.
But I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
Because it opened up the gates for me to figure out just what I'm going to do in this weird world.
Nice. Well, you have a great reputation, too. Just want to let you know. So, like some people that I know, I told them that you were coming on and I had never met you, and they all said you're a great guy.
Well,
So,
I appreciate that. That warms my heart.
nice. All right. I didn't know this until you told me. You were trained to be a wrestler also.
Yes and no.
Okay, but
so,
I was just wondering, who was the guy that helped you out?
So I actually worked with JT Dunn for a while.
Yep.
He was involved with the RWA during
Very
the years
talented guy.
Yeah, very much so. Absolutely. Where he was in 2012 and 2013 and where he is now within his craft work, light years beyond. But even then, he was, you know, when he was a part of the RWA, he wanted to help people get better.
Right.
So he was actually hosting a class. There was him and there was this other guy, JP Hansen, who was around. So between the two of those instructors, I was actually in the original Chop Shop in Providence at least 2 to 3 times a week for well over a year.
Okay.
And the whole reason why I even did it, Leo, I wanted to learn more about what we all do.
Right.
I wanted to keep my body safe. I wanted to lose weight.
Yep.
But I really wanted to entice more of the people within our own camp to train.
Right.
So RWA always kind of had this stigma about itself that it's an outlaw mud show, it's a yardie show, and that is definitely how it started.
Right.
But after a while, when training started to become more of an available resource, especially in this area, the pressure to go ahead and do it, you know, came on pretty thick.
Right.
And some folks just didn't want to get out of their way. So I started training. And in the midst of it, I fell deeper in love with the stuff. So I found different ways to apply it within, you know, commentary, within being in the ring as a referee. And don't you know, eventually more people within our camp were like, well, hell, if Rossi's going to do it, why can't I?
Right.
And it worked.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, we're going to jump into the fan questions because, as you probably saw on Facebook, we got a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Which is awesome.
Some good ones, too.
Oh, yeah. First question is from Jake Olette. How hard is it to be that good looking? Seriously, though, who do you try to emulate on the microphone? That's a great question.
There's quite a few folks that I've pulled from.
Okay.
All right. And I don't necessarily try to copy anyone, but I love the tone that Joe Tessitore and Joe Buck have.
Oh, wow.
Now, some people aren't really big Joe Buck fans because of his opinion.
But he's good at what he does.
I think his delivery is great.
Yeah.
His microphone work, his attack, it's solid. His sports analyst, you know, work, that's not what I'm pulling from.
Right.
And to kind of follow up with that, I would say Mean Gene.
Yeah.
Mean Gene was one of the first stick men to grab me. Like, I was obviously a huge Hogan fan, and,
Yes.
you know, everyone from that era, Duggan, you know, what have you. But Mean Gene had this magnetism about him. He had the way of, like, commanding attention.
Yeah.
And I gravitated to him. And I would definitely say I try to not copy, but I pull from him as well.
Nice. It's great people that pull stuff from. All right, Joe Bruin. You know Joe, right?
Yeah.
All right. What has been your most memorable moment thus far in the business for you? Thanks, Joe. Great question.
That's a tough one because
Yeah.
there are a lot.
You can say a couple if you want. You know what I mean?
So one that sticks with me the hardest is during Resolution 13. This didn't happen on camera.
Right. XWA, correct?
XWA's
Okay.
Resolution 13. And also during that event, we had a tribute to Reed Flair.
Oh,
Ric
because he had
Flair's-
just passed.
He had recently passed.
Right.
And we had a tribute for Rick, to Reed for Rick, I should say.
Right.
Well, before this is all going on, you know, who's in and out of the locker room? I'm, you know, grabbing this one to talk to this one because it's the chaos before the show that all takes place. So at one point, I go through the locker room, and Rick just happens to be sitting at the closest seat to the door. He didn't know me through Adam,
Yeah.
didn't know me through anyone, but he popped up out of his chair and extended his hand.
Nice.
And if I kind of became starstruck. I
Right.
didn't stumble or, sputter, but the only thing I could think to say was, pleasure to meet you, Rick. Thank you for everything that you've done. If there's anything you need, let me know.
Nice.
And I kind of kept it in passing because I figured if I stuck around, I would have stammered, and I don't want to do that. But that, to me, was so memorable because when you're first starting out, you got this idea that if you're down here in the rungs of places and you meet someone who's up here in TV land, they're going to look down on you.
Right.
And Rick treated me like one of the boys.
Like an equal.
And it's probably one of the most memorable moments. It didn't, like I said, it didn't happen on camera. It wasn't that kind of moment.
Right.
But it was validating. It was like, wow, I guess I'm not as far away from this TV stuff as I thought I was.
Right. That's a great story, man. Ric Flair is just, one of the greatest of all time.
A legend.
Oh, absolutely. Billy Vox wants to know, favorite match you've called overall after your favorite matches you've called from the promotions you commentate at most. Did you follow that? Because I almost got lost writing it down. Thanks, Billy. So, favorite match you've called overall after your favorite matches you've called from the
I
promotions.
think he's trying to say after all the different promotions I've called for. So I would have to say the ladder match from Resolution 18.
And who was in that match?
So I don't even remember everyone, but I know there were like 6 or 7. It was Ace Romero, Kellen Thomas, Swerve Strickland. Now he's Isaiah Scott on NXT. I believe Richard Holiday went in there and he was defending the Firebrand Championship title. I know there's a couple of others that I'm missing, and I'm sorry. It's no slight to them. It's
the
just
guys you just named are all great wrestlers.
I was love
a
star-studded
watching Kellen
card.
Thomas too lately. The last year, he's been around a long time and he's done a lot of good things, but I really took notice to him. He had a great 2019.
Absolutely, man. He's been on fire.
Yeah.
And, I find that match is one of my favorite of all time because I met Kellen 7 years before then.
Oh, wow.
And he was a completely different person.
Yeah.
He was begrudged. He had been around too long. He was just like, push me, I'm coming, whatever. He wasn't enthused, but he was still there, just kind of hanging on to it. And after a couple of years from just kind of hearing it from a lot of people, it seemed like Kellen picked himself up from his bootstraps and started to really push forward.
Right.
And that really came to fruition, came to head at 2018. And when he won that title, when he got up to the top of the ladder and pulled it down, I popped up out of my chair with a genuine enthusiasm. Like I was a fan for that moment.
Right.
And I remember calling it at that time. And I remember talking about how this was a man who gave up on himself, who was dejected, who's truly come full circle. And Matt Stryker, who was next to me, he goes, Bobby, and he puts his hand over, I have goosebumps right now, brother. This is as real as pro wrestling can get. So if I could get that kind of a reaction of a fellow who's called WrestleMania, then maybe there really is something here. That maybe this is really as special. We're not just fantasizing.
Right.
So it was another one of those validating moments, and that's something that I'm always going to carry with me because that match was, not only was the match something else, but the way it finished out at the end, boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any I don't know how to call it a catchphrase, but do you have something that you say a lot? Joey Styles used to go, oh my God, and stuff. Is there anything that a go-to line for you?
I say I sit corrected quite often instead of standing corrected.
Okay. That's different.
Jesus Louises.
Yep.
I think that's one of my Rossi-isms. I've got a couple others. They're evading me at the moment.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Sure.
But that's cool. I figured it wasn't even a question I was going to ask. It just came to me. All right, Maverick Wild, your glasses are stupid.
He's not wrong.
Why are your glasses so stupid, man?
I'm going to blame the owner. They're actually smarter when I first bought them, but after owning them for a couple of years, they've gotten pretty dumb.
All right. He's got a real question in here, so I'm just going to flip. I'll get everybody's questions, but I want to, Mav, who is your greatest influence? You kind of just named them a minute ago, right?
Well, that's a couple of them, but I'd say my greatest one's JR.
Right.
JR is the biggest one, hands down. he had a way of, during a time when everything was blown open. You got to figure dirt sheets were online.
Right.
So people were getting spoilers and results. There were a lot of tugs at the curtain being made on camera. That was a part of the content of the show.
Right.
JR's commentary had a way of not giving that stuff away. He had a way of portraying it like this was still a sporting event that just went completely off the rails. And that's really what I try to do. I'm not trying to come up with his sayings. I'm not trying to be Southern. But there was such an intensity with his commentary that for a split second you thought, oh, is this really happening?
Yeah.
Are they going off script? What's really going on? I think of that moment when Pillman broke into Austin's house.
Oh, yeah. Did Austin pull a gun on him, or was it the other way around? I can't remember.
I think they were breaking into Austin's. No, Austin was the one doing the breaking in.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Right.
But I remember
Pillman had the gun.
I think it was Pillman.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
JR was losing his top.
Right.
And there was just such a fear in his voice that he conveyed that might have actually been really going on. So when the camera cut to nothing, you were just left on the edge of your seat.
Right.
Now that's thrilling.
Yeah.
That's, I think, what we all try to do at some point or another, whether you're in the ring, performing as a wrestler, whether you're on the outs calling it.
Yep.
That's what we're all trying to steer up that energy in the room.
Right.
And give people that thrill.
Nice. All right, next up, Dave Fournier. What announcers inspired you to become an announcer?
There's a couple right there, but the Buffer brothers are definitely some inspiration right there. Both Michael and Bruce.
They're awesome.
They're the best.
Yeah.
I really think they're great.
Right. Michael Buffer, man, all the boxing matches, you know what I mean? And his brother doing the MMA.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal.
And they've got that intensity.
Yes,
they got that fire about them.
definitely do. All right. Dave's got a couple more. Also, if you could work for any promotion that you don't work for currently, which ones would you want to work for?
There's quite a few.
Right.
I would love to work for Evolve.
Right.
I would love to work for AAW Pro out in the Midwest.
Yep.
I'd love to work for Championship Wrestling of Hollywood, NWA. I would like to work amongst the top tier. Nice. I'm not so sure I've got a top tier look, but I know I've called some top tier matches.
Right.
I know put in that situation, I could bring the fire.
Nice. I was thinking too, chaotic. I mean, they have announcers and stuff, but I mean...
That's why I didn't name them. And it's not to slight them. Actually,
of course not.
Let's go regional, let's go local. They have guys in-house. I wouldn't want to step on their toes, but I'd love to do a one-off at Chaotic to say I did. A one-off at Limitless.
Yeah.
I'd love to even help. I'd like to be a part of TRP. They don't even have a commentary team from what I understand.
Oh, wow.
And I'm a big fan of their product. I do like what they put out of their lockup school. I think Cesar Leao, I think, who's another one that wrestles for them? Channing Thomas.
Yep.
I think
Brett,
they've got Brett. Brett's come up quite
Donovan
a bit
Piper
since.
is what I call it. I'll tell you afterwards why.
But I like the fact that they've got that ground game. They've all got a sound foundation in grappling out of that school. And I'd love to call for them.
Nice. I love Channing's style, too. It's not like a style around here. It's more European and stuff, And the kid's got a lot of talent. He's got the size, got the look.
Got the frame.
I expect big. I don't think he'll be around here after at least 2021. He still probably has a little more time to keep,
I can see him taking off. I can see Bacon taking off, too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Dave's last question. Lastly, who is your favorite wrestler of all time? Nice questions, Dave.
Favorite wrestler of all time? I think...
Or a couple if you have more than one. It's all good.
I've got a few. I mean, I was obviously huge Rock and Austin fans.
Right.
One of my favorites of all time is Bam Bam Bigelow. He was one of the first bad guys I liked as a kid. So as a kid, you kind of gravitate towards the good guys more often than
talented.
not. But I loved him. He was a big guy who could move.
Right.
He was convincing. He was thrilling to watch. Taz is another one of my favorites.
Yep.
Kurt Angle, in my opinion, I think Kurt Angle's the greatest of all time.
Yeah, he's definitely right there, with, I'd say, Shawn Michaels, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But yeah.
That top
He's
tier.
unbelievable. He was unbelievable. He took to the sport like that, too. I mean, like that.
For a guy who has such a rooting in the traditional stuff, and to make that transition into show business and
Right.
sports entertainment, that in and of itself is impressive. And to be as on top of everything
Yeah.
as he was, can't deny it.
I wish he never would have left and went to TNA. You know, could you imagine all the matches that we would have saw and all the championships he would have won?
Sure.
You know, if he stayed in the WWE. Big Kurt Angle fan. Now, I hope I pronounced this. Actually, well, no, I'm sorry. Shooter, Scott Anthony wants to know, Rossi has always been down to earth, genuine, great guy around me. So with that, I ask, thus far with your time in various independent companies, has there ever been someone who has starstruck you while sharing a locker room? You definitely just said one of them, Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
The first time I met Doug, and I couldn't get over just how massive he was. And you know, again, it was one of those moments in passing, but I
Right.
kind of got starstruck. The first time I met Vader,
Oh, wow.
Leon White,
I would have been starstruck for that, too.
I had a chance to meet him quite a few years before he had gotten sick. He was actually a big part of helping the XWA relaunch out of its hiatus.
Oh, okay.
He was he become champion, and this was after maybe about a year and a half to 2 years the XWA had taken off,
Right.
Because real life happened first.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so when they decided to come out again and make a run for things, Vader was a huge part of that, and he actually hosted a couple of seminars at RWA's original Chop Shop in Providence. So I got to see this guy operate, and I got to see him share some of his knowledge with folks. And
Right.
it went from being starstruck to, okay, yeah, these people might have been stars on television, but these are assets. These are people to help continue this tradition.
Right.
Don't just stand back in awe. Work with them.
Right.
You know?
That's awesome. I'm a huge Vader fan. When he was in that's the one thing that pissed me off. He never won the WWE Championship.
I don't
And
like how
they should have put that belt on him.
His run in WWF was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And he was, and like I said, so talented. You said it too. I mean, amazing, amazing wrestler.
Wrong place, wrong time for him.
Yes, I agree. All right, Shooter's got a couple more. Looking back, working with XWA briefly was amazing. He's talking about himself. And knowing you were there the night for Perez versus Atama, is that I say that right? Atama, in the cage, your thoughts on it?
All right, so I don't want to correct him because, you know, that would be rude. There was about two and a half years that I wasn't around at all in wrestling. I was actually out of state. So Atama and Perez might have faced each other at XWA during that time, but I think the match he's talking about is actually RWA's Legacy 5.
Okay.
And I remember that match happening, and I remember the build-up into that match. Jose made it a point to find us, the RWA.
Right.
He had heard about us, heard about the show that happened at Thayer Arena, and he found our little building and he started to work with us. He was one of the few folks that came around from the independent area that was like, hey, let's help build you guys up.
Yeah.
You have something here. So when he was working with Atama and that match was taking place, there was this another feeling of validation, like, hey, we're doing this.
Right.
We're getting out of the yard. We're not just playing wrestler. We're putting on real shows.
Yep.
And I remember the match itself was thrilling, man. It was
Nice.
something else. Jose was doing stuff that he shouldn't have been doing at his age,
Right.
of course. But
Jose is a great guy. I told you off air how much I respect him. You know what I mean? Just a great guy. And Claudia's his wife. When my youngest daughter used to go to shows, eventually at a certain point, she couldn't come in the men's room anymore. And Claudia would say, because I asked her one time to take her, and she said, whenever you see me at a show, I'll take her to the bathroom for you anytime. It's a great family. The only one I don't know is, I don't know Ricky. That's his name, right? The son?
yeah, I've only met him like once or twice.
I don't even think I've met him, but I know D. I mean, last time I saw them was at Brian Fury's final match.
Okay.
And Claudia was like, do you remember D? I'm like, yeah, I remember when she was like that big. You know, like I said, great family. All right, I think this is Shooter's last question, at least on this page. T flipping you on the hood of the car was priceless. So he's talking T Phoenix, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Was priceless. Thanks for the memories, Rossi. See you down the road. So how was that?
I didn't know it was coming.
Right. Oh, really?
T kind of shot it on me. He just hooked me around my waist and gave me a deadlift German onto the hood of his car. And that's a clip that keeps circling its way around Facebook
You have
every
to
year
send
or
it
so.
to me. Then I want to see it. I do.
I'll find it.
All right.
I'll find it. Someone's going to send it to my messenger before I get home. I can guarantee it.
Okay. Davis Wright, who will be on this show in the future.
All right.
Bobby, who is your favorite person to do commentary with, and why is it Davis Wright? In all seriousness, though, thank you for the opportunities you tossed my way, and I hope you will work along. And I hope you and I work alongside again real soon.
I'm looking forward to doing so. I mean,
Yeah.
he's new at
Right.
wrestling, but he's got a background in calling junior hockey. So he's got the aptitude for it.
Yeah.
And he definitely wants to get better like anyone else. You
Right.
know? So the few times I've had a chance to call with Davis, it's been kind of fun.
Yeah.
Who's my favorite to call with? Out of all the years, out of all the one-off partners I've had, my favorite still to this day is Rob Massey.
Oh.
We only worked together for about 8 months.
Yep.
And it was around the time that I really started to try my hand at commentary. But we were both doing it at RWA, and it started off as a social experiment.
Yep.
We were like, well, let's see how it goes. Let's run it live during the show.
Yeah.
And it added to the show. And the two of us just instantaneously had chemistry. So one of us could be straight, one of us would throw another one a curveball, and the dynamic would flip back and forth throughout the show. I miss calling with him.
Okay.
I really do.
I thought you might say Bob Whitney, too. You're doing a lot of shows with Bob,
Forget
right?
him. Forget Bob
All
Whitney.
right. Sorry, Bob. Adam Nessel, who I know you've worked with.
Yes.
All right. Why haven't you tried to expand your reach as a commentator? I think promotions in New England would be lining up to have you lend your voice. Before you answer it that, though, you've already worked for a lot of companies, so you have put yourself out there.
To an extent, yeah.
Okay.
And to follow that up, you know, a place that is legitimate usually has their own person.
Right.
You know, like there are more wrestlers that tend to travel throughout the circuit. Referees tend to travel throughout the circuit, but commentators, voices, we tend to be more localized and regional. Now, that's not saying that you can't make your way around.
Right.
Mark Haggerty did over the past 3 years, and now he's landed himself
Look
a
at him.
great gig
Yeah.
at MLW. Good
Yeah.
on you, Mark.
Yes.
You know?
Very talented.
He was actually a lot of fun to work with.
Was he?
I had a chance to call one show with him.
Yep.
Didn't take long. Within about a match's time, we had chemistry. We had a good rhythm. He's a good
Nice.
dude. He's got an infectious energy around. about him.
I noticed that about him because I don't really know him. I've said hi to him in passing and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but he's a guy I want to get on the show one of these days. He's done a lot of great things in a short amount of time.
He put himself out there.
Yeah, he did. He's doing a hell of a job. All right. Now, this is the name. I'm not sure if I can pronounce it right. Ben Carcieri?
Carcieri.
Sorry, Ben. I butcher you. I probably say it different every time he asks a question. Who is your favorite commentary partners? You just answered that. Right?
Well, some of my favorites are also Bob Whitney,
Yeah.
John Roy. I love calling with Palladino, and I definitely miss calling with Matt Stryker.
I didn't know you worked with Palladino. What company was that for?
That was for XWA.
Oh, cool.
And we still work together. It's
Yeah.
just that he's not there as often as he used to be.
Right. Yeah, because now on Thursdays he's doing the Beyonds when they run their seasons.
Rich is going to be a national act pretty soon.
I hope
and
so.
I can't wait to see it like really hammer in.
I always say it too. He's the best in the business, not just New England. He's as good as any ring announcer that's out there. Any. I know you agree, right?
He had a big hand in helping me learn. You know, so when I showed up at XWA in 2016, that was actually the beginning of my second run with this company.
Okay.
And when they started Thursday Night Throwdown, it was very new. So I was the commentator, Bob Whitney was the announcer, and that's kind of how it worked for a
Right.
while. Rich would come in for the premiere events that XWA would still run every 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
So you got the weekly shows, which is more regional, local,
Right.
student-based, and you get the premiere events where you've got more circuit-based talent on the show. So I was working those shows as well, but I was being carried by Rich. Rich was announcing. Rich was doing play-by-play, sports analysis, providing history, and I was just filling in at color.
Right.
So like that first 6 months, man, it was mostly Rich.
Right. like I said, so talented in everything he does. And on top of that, one of the nicest guys
Genuinely
you'll
good.
ever meet.
Genuinely good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I pray that he gets signed because if there's anybody that deserves it in New England, it's Rich.
Hands down.
All right. Brickhouse Baker, who said now that he's done running House of Bricks, did say he's going to come on here one of these days. Brickhouse, come on, I need you to come in. What made you fall in love with the business in the first place? And then there's a follow-up.
What made me fall in love with the business was probably the fact that charity shows happen.
Right.
So when I got to understand like just what the business level of things are for some companies in the area and how far away we are from the industry, depending on which company you're talking about, there are a lot of things about the business that I didn't like.
Okay.
You know, I think there's a lot of things that happen for the sake of business that aren't really cool. But when you get to raise $1,000 for the Autism Project, and you get to raise $1,500+ for the Special Olympics, that's cool.
Yeah, it is.
When you get to see kids, you know, they light up because of what's happening in front of them. It's real to them for a little bit.
Yep.
That's cool. That's the kind of stuff that I found myself falling in love with. And that happened over time.
Nice. Great answer, though. Brickhouse has another question. What was the first match you called? Do you remember?
I had to think about that one.
Yep.
So technically speaking, the first match I ever called was a dub over.
Oh, okay.
Jose was working with RWA, Jose Perez.
Yep.
And Atama was this diamond in the rough. You know, he stood out from the minute he walked into the ring.
Oh, wow.
He just had that natural aptitude. He had a background in collegiate style wrestling because he wrestled all throughout high school.
Right.
He still might be Johnston or Lincoln High School's coach for their wrestling. He might still be. I know he was for a while.
Right.
So he was chosen to be groomed. And he and Jose and I and this guy, Mike Brissett, we took a ride up to, I think, Haverhill, Mass. Latin American wrestling. It was like a one-off show. I think Demon Ortiz had something to do with the show.
Okay.
So Jose and Atama wrestle each other. I'm recording it on like a, mobile cam.
Yep.
We take the footage back to T. Phoenix's living room, and me and Mike Brissett are calling this because they wanted to have some form of commentary so they could start shopping the video out, getting Atama's name out there. That's technically the first match I ever called.
Wow, nice. Brickhouse, that was a great question. All right. Ed Grunion. You know Ed?
Yeah, I know Ed.
All right, I said that right?
Yeah.
All right. If you were to choose a superpower, I like this question too. Would you want invisibility or super strength, and why? Before you answer, I have to just say this. My superpower would be to stop time. So you can walk in a bank and take as much money as you want. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seriously.
No one's the wiser.
Over anything, just stop time. But go ahead. What would yours be?
As enticing as super strength sounds, I'm going to go with invisibility.
Yeah.
Because imagine the stuff that you could find out being invisible.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Right?
There was a movie that Kevin Bacon did. I can't remember the name of it, but he would become invisible.
It's not ringing a bell.
So good, though.
I'll check it out.
When I find out, I'll hit you up on Facebook
let me know.
and tell you, because it's incredible. All right. Emilio Bullet Estevez. Right? I said that right,
That's
too.
right, yeah.
All right. I'll ask a rhetorical question. Why are you so loved in and out of the business? That's how we put it, the business.
Probably for the same reason why I might catch a little bit of heat. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yep.
And I have a big heart. So when you have a big heart, you get upset, you lash out.
Yep.
I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not exempt from that. I have in the past. But the reason why I think people gravitate towards me is because I love even harder.
Right.
Then I lash out.
Yep.
And I can't lie about anything. Whatever's on my mind, like my face gives me away every time.
I'm the same way. Like I'll be at work, all pissed off, and then the teachers will be like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing." Baloney, there's something wrong because you're not smiling right now. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Emilio. Sean Lita. I said that right?
Yep.
I know I did. What was your favorite match this year in all of wrestling? Meaning, obviously, then you could, something from TV if you wanted to pick that. And what about it made it special? It's a great question, John.
So, did you watch the 10th anniversary Evolve special that was on the WWE network?
Yes, not all of it though, but the AG Josh Briggs match, I made sure I watched that live.
That was special.
It was.
Because
very special.
My first memory of AG is him being a referee for NCW at a VFW hall in either West Warwick, Rhode Island, or Riverside, and he was this little kid that those within the scene would break his balls a little bit because he was always around.
Yeah.
And seeing him do that,
right,
that was cool. But the match from the year that was my favorite, it was from that show.
Okay.
It was XWA former champion Anthony Henry versus Arturo Horse.
Okay.
That match felt real.
Really?
The two of those guys, they have legitimate backgrounds in MMA.
Okay.
And they brought that into their match presentation. So there was a lot of grappling. There was a lot of educated striking. There was a lot of educated blocking. And it just looked good.
Right.
There's a lot of crossover stuff that they try to put on TV. It falls short of the mark.
Yeah, a lot.
This didn't.
Right.
This to me, and the reason why I am such a fan of it, I think that's where the business is going.
Right.
And I think you're going to see it happen within the next 5 to 10 years. If you get the chance, dial up that show and find that match, Leo.
I will.
It was something else.
Nice. I'll tell you, AG is incredible, too. Not only is he so talented in the ring and knows so much about wrestling, he's also one of the nicest guys around.
Good kid.
Yes. All right. Sean has a follow-up. Also, if you could change one thing you did or didn't do this year, what would it be? Sean's come up with some great questions.
One thing I could have done that I should have. I think the chance to branch out at a much larger area than I'm already branched out to was in the middle of 2018. XWA was at like a blistering height, and everyone from the area at some point or another in that year had come through.
Right.
There's a bunch of folks that are on television now that weren't on television in 2018, and they were there at that time.
Oh, wow.
And it was so much going on in a short period. I don't think I capitalized on that. And to be honest, there were even times I found myself getting bitter about it.
Really?
Yeah, because you see someone who's done more in a shorter amount of time, it's like, damn, why not? Why not me? What did I do? What did I not do? So I've kind of wrestled with that question over the past few months. But on the flip side, in remaining more local, I feel like I've contributed more to the houses that I work at by just being more involved in the locker room, having a keener eye on what's taking place on camera, and giving that feedback to those in the company, be it the workers or the powers that be.
Nice. All right, Shooter's back.
Okay.
Scott Anthony, is there any way you may want to lend your commentary skills in 2020 to 2021?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd love to call for TRP. I like the product. I'd like to do a few one-offs at, Chaotic and Limitless and some of these promotions here in New England. But I want to get out there. And I'm not so sure if 2020 is the breakout year.
Okay.
I think there's still more things to be done locally.
Yep.
The RWA is getting ready for a big show in the middle of the summer. XWA is getting ready for their 20th Extreme Rumble. That's going to be March 29th.
Nice.
It's going to be taking place in Plymouth, Mass.
Okay.
So we're getting out of the area, so to speak. We're looking to branch out a little bit more. I mean, this is the first time that XWA is going to host a 50 contender Rumble for the Rumble match.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of violence.
Very cool. That's very cool, though.
It's going to be a big event.
Yeah.
So, I'm not so sure I'm going to be making it a point to get out a whole lot in 2020, but the rumbling should start.
Okay. A follow-up. In your opinion, who is the next big star? That's a great question, especially because there's a lot of them around here. Really?
There really is. There really are. Who is the next big star? So I think some of the next people to break out from the area are probably Christian Casanova.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Bacon's going to blow up big once he's fully into the swing of things.
Right, once he's 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he had a good amount of steam before it happened.
Sure did.
So I think he's going to be one of those to blow up pretty soon. I think Charlie Cashew is going to be one to really shine.
Good. Yeah?
He's another one with an amateur background.
Right. I did not know that until like 2 days ago when I came across his real name and I saw him on the mat, watching his kids wrestle.
That's the requirement nowadays.
Right.
And I think it's a good thing because there was a long period of time in pro wrestling where you didn't have to have that kind of background so long as you had the knowledge of, show business and safety and things of that matter. You could, you could go on your own way. Whereas now it's like, man, you got to know how to wrestle.
Yeah.
You want to be a wrestler? Got to know how to wrestle.
Yep. Nice.
Simple.
All right. Last fan question, then we'll get to play the name game for a little over 12 minutes. If you had to pick one night you were involved with saying this, was it, and walked away for good, what was it? Well, again, I'll read it. If you had to pick one night you were involved with saying this was it, meaning walking away, and you walked away for good, what was it? If you had to pick one night.
What would be a good night to end on? That's a wow.
Yeah, it's a hard question.
It
really is.
That's a tough question. If I had to make any of the shows that I've called the last one, Resolution 18.
Okay.
Resolution 18, because I think it was a culminating point for a lot of people.
Right.
And I got to see that come to a head.
Yep.
So like I remember a year before then, Richard Holiday was very new to the scene, and you saw that he had potential to blow up and glow up.
Right.
But at that point, he was still kind of still rough around the edges. I mean, you saw Kellen come into his own. Ace Romero went from being a local regional guy to being an Impact superstar. If I had to walk away, I'd walk away from Resolution 18 because from that point forward, man, so many things popped off.
Right. And Ace Romero is incredible talent, man. He went viral with that Pounce video. I mean, honestly, he really is incredible. All right, so I got a bunch of names. We already talked about a few, so I'm going to skip those guys.
Okay.
Teddy Goods.
I love Teddy Goods.
Yeah.
He's a decent dude.
Yep.
Always been very respectful. I like his wrestling style.
Me too.
I think he's a good dude.
All right. How about the head trainer at the lockup school, Ryan Drew?
Ryan has got a sense of humor that isn't cut for everyone.
Yeah.
But I get it and I dig it and I appreciate it. I really am a fan of his style of training.
Yeah.
He's actually made it a point to come to the XWA's Wrestling Kingdom just because he had nothing to do that day.
Yep.
So, like, anyone who goes out of their way to lend their experience, I got a respect for that.
Definitely, and he's such a good guy. All right, how about Todd Graham?
Todd Graham is someone that I've grown to appreciate over the years. And at first, I could see why and how he rubs people the wrong way.
Right.
He seems like overambitious about stuff, but once you actually get to know the guy and level with him, you find that he really does have the best of intentions.
Right. I agree.
I think there's so much going on in there creatively that if he had a means of laying it all out, you could see some real magic come from him.
Nice. And I love having him on as a guest. He's a great speaker, and he's very knowledgeable about the sport, being a promoter and a worker. You know?
He looks at it from all angles.
Yeah, definitely. How about Tom Billington?
Tom Billington.
Part of the Dick Busters. See, I remember this time, Tom.
Gassy.
Yeah.
He's very gassy. That's all I have to say about Tom Billington.
All right.
Now, all jokes aside, he's probably one of my better friends in the
Yeah.
scene. One of the first few people I ever met. And over the years has been a genuine friend to me. He's one of those folks I can confide a lot in.
Nice. Next name, this guy had a great 2019. Dick Lane.
Dick Lane is probably one of my favorite eccentric character type of
Very
wrestlers.
eccentric.
He's good though, man.
He is good.
He's another music head.
Yeah.
So, that's just one reason alone to like him.
Right.
But I like that he's taken the comic book super villain and really just made it superimposed.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how much of a crossover there was between the comic book fandom and within the wrestling community until I got into the independents. So like watching him bring that to life, I think has been really awesome. I think he also is one of those guys that gets maybe overlooked and undersung a bit, but just got to work harder at it.
Nice. Next name, I had her here as a guest, and she was awesome. Delilah Haynes.
Delilah Haynes is a sweetheart.
Yes, she is.
She really is. She's a good kid. I feel bad at times because I think she might have gotten some heat tossed her way.
Yeah, but we fixed it here, I think, at least. You know what I mean? I had her on, and like she was a great guest. Mav actually came on that, and a lot of her friends thought we were gonna, like shit on her.
Yeah, no.
Me and Mav are not like that at all. You know what I mean? And I let her know that, I may not agree that you're wrestling and not being trained and stuff, but she's a great person. She did say that she's been doing more seminars and stuff like that, because I certainly wouldn't want people not to book her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because of some of the things she said. And she definitely was misconstrued in the that conversation that went online. I think Delilah Haynes awesome.
I think she's a good kid, but I also think she's got to figure out exactly what she wants out of wrestling.
Right.
Because for the same reason that RWA kind of caught heat for a few years, there was the want to do the stuff. There was that desire to put it out there. But if you're going to take it to that next level, if you're going to take it past your yard or past the building that you and your friends hang out at, because that's where RWA was for a while, if you're going to take it to beyond that point, you got to spruce up your own skill set. You got to take safety into consideration. And if you're going to ask people to pay money to watch you, you need some training.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I got another woman on the list, Isana.
I've watched her develop over the years. Like she started off as a photographer and a fan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's how she broke in. So she started with us, some outlaw mud kids at RWA.
Right.
And
she's talented.
She started from outside the ring, and like a lot of us folks, we watch our friends get in there. It's like, oh man, I want to get in there too.
Yeah.
And she, her love for wrestling is, it's unparalleled, because you don't make it a point to transform your entire body over the matter of like 2 to 3 years and then compete. And that's what she did.
Yeah.
And I got a ton of respect for that.
Nice. All right, how about Doc Ozone?
Doc Ozone.
One of my favorite people in the wrestling business.
Doc Ozone, the walking contact high.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Doc Ozone has never been anything but genuinely warm and fun to be around.
Yeah.
He's one of the very first people I met outside of the RWA nest.
Oh, really?
So NCW is the first show I ever announced outside of the outside of the realm. And Doc from day one was just like, bring it here, brother. And he's just cool. I love Doc to pieces.
Yeah, man.
I can't say enough good about him.
Big heart too. Like, we had talked about other people having a big heart, great guy. How about CJ Cruz? You know CJ at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not really tight with him.
Yep.
I've only seen him at like a handful of shows, worked with him once or twice. I think it's like a junior Bacon.
Yeah.
Bacon Hollister, you know what I mean? He's got that same build about him. I don't know if he's got the same ground game.
Right.
But man, is that kid going to be something else in a couple of years?
I think so too. And a kid that he's been wrestling a lot lately, who I'm a big fan of also, the Prize, Alec Price.
He's something else. He is something else. I first met him maybe about 2.5 years ago.
Yep.
And he was at a place called Showcase Pro. They're based out of like Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Is that Don Vega?
Yeah.
Okay,
So he
that's what I thought so.
Don recently retired.
Yes.
But that was his house for quite a while. And I remember hearing about the kid's name, like Alex Price. And then I saw him, I was like, oh, this skinny kid?
Yeah. Yep.
And then I saw him jump in the ring, and I was like, well, wait a minute.
Yes.
This skinny little kid's got something. And then I found out that he was like only maybe 19 at the time.
Yeah, because he's only 21, I think, right now.
Yeah. Sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, I tell him that too, because the kid's, and he's such a good kid too.
Yeah.
He really is,
Decent dude.
Yeah, definitely. All right, how about Rob Tuttle? I know I'm just throwing random names, but it's fun that way.
Rob Tuttle's another one of the first people I ever met outside of the nest.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the first people to give me tips on how to referee.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's been doing it a long time.
He has.
Nice.
And he's a good dude.
How about the Middlesex Express?
Oh, those chuds. Probably some of my favorite villains.
Yeah.
Because like even when they're out there being them sleazy selves, I can't help but smile from ear to ear. Stephen Lust is someone I've actually gotten to know over the years personally, outside of the ring.
Right.
Probably one of my closer friends. And I give him a lot of credit because when you think of the Middlesex Express, you think of them as a unit.
Right.
And he's definitely gone out of his way to redefine himself as a singles wrestler.
Nice.
And he's doing a really good job at it.
Yeah. They're a great tag team. I enjoy watching
I think they're
them
one of the
wrestle.
best tag teams in the area. I really do.
Oh, absolutely. They're definitely working their way up. How about Killanova?
How about them?
You know, Trips, AG, and Royce Bishop.
I mean,
All the culture. I don't know exactly what they're going by right now.
I think they have the potential to be a modern day Horseman type unit.
Right.
And I would love to see that happen.
Me too.
With Tasha Steele representing the culture on NWA, I think there could be some really big things in the making for them, and I hope to see it happen.
Yeah, and I hope like when they move on, and it might not happen, obviously, but I'd love to see them go as a group. Like let's say Evolve or Ring of Honor, they bring all of them, not just like Christian.
Right.
You know, which if it was just Christian, I'd be still happy. But I'd love to see the group together, stay together.
I think we're probably going to see them like independently show up at all these different places, but to see them brought in as the group, that would be awesome.
Definitely.
That would be cool.
All right, I think you had a picture with this guy, Matt Tremont.
Matt Tremont.
Nice guy. I only met him once. Such a good dude.
Yeah, and it's like when you see the kind of stuff that he's put out in the ring and you get to meet him in person, it's like night and day.
Right.
But one of those folks that where you can't judge a book by its cover.
Yep.
Looks like a mean, nasty, ugly dude who has nothing nice to say about anyone. But he's actually very smart.
Yep.
A well-spoken guy. He's always been polite to me.
Nice. We got 50 seconds. We'll go one more name. Vinny Pacifico.
Vinny Pacifico is someone that I miss seeing as often as we once did.
Right.
He was a big part of Thursday Night Throwdown in its first couple of years. The kid's done nothing but chase his dream and blow up, and that, to me, makes all the sacrifices worth it because you see these people start from here and it's just, you see them on television. It's like, man, I remember when you were bumming around in West Warwick with me, bro.
Nice. Why don't you plug your social media?
All right, well, I'm at Bobby Rossi. I'm on Facebook. I'll plug the fact that by the end of this month, BobbyRossi.net will be live.
Okay.
And there'll be a lot of content coming out of that website, and there'll be a much larger social media presence than just a regular old Facebook page.
That's awesome. Bob, we're going to set this up and do it again. Guys, for Bobby Rossi, I'm Leo Connors. Peace.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.